Hello and welcome back to Linode. In today's video, we're going to talk about package management. Now, this is a topic that I've covered on this channel before, but in today's video, specifically, we're going to look at the DNF command, and DNF itself is the package manager for Fedora, CentOS, Alma Linux, and a number of others. And considering that DNF is used by several different distributions, some prominent distributions, it's absolutely a command that you should know. Thankfully, it's really easy to learn. In today's video, I'm going to show you all of the basics with the DNF command, basics such as how to install a package, update packages, and things like that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. On my end, right here, I'm running Fedora Workstation. That's the distribution that I've decided to use as the example in today's video. But again, if you use other distributions, including but not limited to CentOS, Red Hat, Alma, Rocky, and others, then of course the DNF examples that I'm going to be giving you will actually work on those distros as well. Now, I mentioned that DNF is a package manager, and if you're not already familiar with that concept, a package manager is essentially a command line utility that fetches software from a remote repository, and DNF is one of several package managers. And other package managers include apt, pacman, zipper, there's a number of them. But what DNF does for us is it helps us actually fetch software and install it locally. And if that software requires other packages or other pieces of software, then it's actually going to install those requirements as well. Now, let's see an example. On my end, let's just say that, I want to run htop. htop is one of my favorite system monitoring utilities out there, and I even have an entire video about htop. But htop is only going to work if I have it installed, which clearly I don't, because it's telling me right here, command not found. Now, to be fair, you won't always know the exact name of the package that you want to install. I just happen to know that the package I want to install is htop. It's the same as the command, so that is pretty easy for me to find out. I will be showing you how to search for packages later, but what I want to start out with is showing you how to install a package. And since I clearly don't have htop installed on this particular computer, well, I think I'll start with that. So let's go ahead and get started then. First, I'll prefix the command with sudo, because as you probably already know, any command that's going to make system-wide changes is going to need root permissions. And sudo actually helps us elevate commands accordingly. The command won't work if we actually don't use sudo, but if you're logged in as root, then you don't need to use sudo, but I won't mention that going forward because you probably already knew that anyway. But what I'm going to do is run sudo dnf because, well, that's what we're going over. And what I want to do is install something. So I'll use the keyword install, and then I type the name of the package that I want to install, which is going to be htop. Right above that is telling me that the command was not found. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm making sure that it's installed. So I'll press enter. And then I'll type in my super secret password. And now it's giving me a summary. So from the output that we see right here, we can see that clearly htop is recognized as a package that I can install. Before it actually does what I asked it to do, install the package, it's giving me a little summary here to let me know what's going to happen if I were to continue. It's going to take about 173 kilobytes of hard disk space, which I have plenty of that, so that's not going to be an issue. But it's actually showing me down here that it's going to expand to 405 kilobytes, which again is fine. Now it's asking me if that's okay, and it is. And to answer yes, I could type Y. Now if I wanted to abort, I could actually type N for no. But if I actually type nothing and press enter, then N is the default because that's capitalized. And by simply typing nothing and pressing enter, then I'm basically choosing the default, which is no. Recalling that command, dnf install htop. I'm going to this time let it proceed, so I'll answer with Y. I'll press enter. And it's going to download htop, which it's already done. And I couldn't even finish my sentence before htop is fully installed. It's not that big of a utility, didn't take any time at all to download. So now what I should be able to do is type htop, and sure enough, it's working. I have htop on my system, as you can see right here. And even though I'm using a desktop version of Fedora, it doesn't really matter if you have a desktop or a graphical user interface, because one of the things I love most about htop is that it runs, well, without a graphical user interface. which makes it especially useful on servers. Now, what I'm going to do is actually quit out of htop. You get the idea. htop wasn't installed, and I was able to use the dnf command, this one right here, to get that installed on the system. Now, I showed you guys an example of installing a package with dnf. I installed htop, and like I mentioned, I already knew the name of that package, so it was pretty much a no-brainer. I just ran sudo dnf install and then the name of the package, which in our case was htop. But what if I have no idea what the name of the package is? I could guess, and I might be right, and I've been right several times. I've actually guessed before, and I was right on the money, but that's not really a great way to handle this. Now, if the packages are named the same here on Fedora as they are on Debian and Ubuntu, which is not the case, but if I was thinking that it might be the same name, what I could try to do is run sudo dnf install, and I'll type Apache 2, because that is the name of the package on distributions that are based on Debian. But that's not going to work. There's no such package. So if I'm coming to Fedora from Ubuntu, for example, I might be pretty confused. So what I'm going to do is give you an example of dnf search. We won't need to prefix it with sudo this time around because we're not actually making changes, we're just searching. And what I want to do is search for Apache. That is what I want to install, and how I thought the package was named didn't actually work out. So let's see if we could find the actual name of the package. Now we get quite a few results here because the dnf search command, what that's going to do is actually show us the results of every package in the repositories that include the search term. So as you can see here, for example, this package includes the word Apache right in the description, but this is not what we want. If I scroll up, and I do know the name of the package, so I know what I'm looking for, so this should be pretty quick. The name of the package is right here, httpd. Now we can ignore this part right here, .x86_64. That's the architecture of the package right there. But we only need to focus on what's in front of the period, which is going to be this right here. So now that I know the name of the package, what I'm going to do is run sudo dnf and then install, and that package name, httpd, just like that. And I actually installed it off camera when I was playing around, so it's already installed in my case, but we could just pretend like I didn't know the name of the package, and I searched for it, I found the name of the package, and then I installed it. If nothing else, the takeaway right here in this part of the video is you could use dnf search and then some sort of keyword to find out what the packages are in the repository that meet that criteria. If nothing else, you can find the name of the package that you might want to install, and dnf search will help you do that. So what I'm going to do right now is give you guys additional examples of the dnf command, because simply installing packages, that's not all it can do. It could do more for us than just that. So let's see some additional examples. And I'm going to go over these in, well, basically no particular order, but the next one that I want to show you is going to be dnf list installed. And it looks like that. And what this command is going to do, well, you could probably guess what it does based on what I've just typed. It's going to give us a list of all the packages that have been installed. So I'll press enter. And as you can see, it gave me a list of every package that is installed on this system. Now, I didn't install all of these myself. These are mostly just packages that actually came with Fedora, and that's how distributions of Linux work. You have packages or software that's pre-installed. That's very common. And packages within a Linux system are going to be split into smaller sub-packages or, dependency packages, libraries, if you will. So it's actually quite common to have a large number of packages that are installed along with the distribution. And I was able to find that out by typing dnf list installed. Notice that I didn't use sudo this time. The thing is, with this command, I'm not actually making changes to the distribution or the system in general. All I'm doing is just reading information. I want to know what's installed on the server. And again, since I'm not making changes, I didn't have to use sudo for this. I was able to run dnf list installed, and it worked just fine. In addition to that, what we could do is type dnf list and then recent. And what this is going to do for us is actually list all of the packages that have been recently updated in the repositories. A repository is actually where a Linux distribution gets its software from. So even Debian systems, Ubuntu systems, basically just about every distribution, they all utilize the concept of a repository, which is where software comes from. So when I run the dnf command and I install something like htop, it's pulling it from the repository. And every now and then, packages or software within a repository are updated. Maybe there's security updates, feature updates, something like that. So these packages are regularly updated. And by running this command, dnf list recent, I could find out which packages in the repositories that the system is subscribed to have been recently updated. That's pretty cool. Now for the next example, what I want to do is install actually two different packages. So again, I'm going to use sudo. I will be making changes to the system this time, so of course I'll need to have access or privileges to do that. And then I'll run dnf and then the keyword install. And one of the packages that I want to install is called Alacrity. Alacrity is a terminal emulator, and it's actually one of the ones that I've covered in a recent video where I go through several different terminal emulators in one video. I'll leave a card for that right about here. But anyway, Alacrity is a graphical terminal emulator, something that you might install on a Linux desktop distribution. But what I also want to do is I want to install ULauncher as well. So I just press space and then the name of the second package, which I think is a lot better than executing two different dnf commands. I mean, if I already know what I want to install, I should be able to install more than one package all at the same time. And that's actually the case. As you can see right here with this command, what I'm attempting to do at least is install Alacrity and ULauncher. I put a space in between those two package names. And if this works, then, well, DNF should actually get them both installed. Now, I'm using Fedora, which, obviously has a graphical desktop environment. So if you are running on a server, for example, then these two packages right here are probably not a good idea to install. These are just packages that I'm going to use as an example in my case. But I'm going to go ahead and press enter. But you know what? Before I do that, since I'm on a graphical desktop environment, I'm going to show you that these packages are not available right now. So if I go to Show Applications, I don't see Alacrity here, do you? And also, I don't see ULauncher either. So I'm just making sure that these packages aren't already installed. And they're not. So let's go ahead and complete this command and get these packages installed. So I'll press enter. Now this time around, some additional dependencies are going to be installed as well. So up here, it shows the two packages that I've requested, Alacrity and ULauncher. But in order to satisfy the dependencies, it's going to need to install these packages as well, because without these dependencies, then these packages can't actually function. Each one is going to have their own dependencies, and the dependencies for each are going to be mixed in here together. But this is very common. Dependencies that support a package or a piece of software that you want to run, DNF is going to take care of that for us and make sure that everything the application needs is going to be installed on the system, which is awesome. We used to handle dependencies ourselves manually back in the day, so trust me, you should be very happy that that's not something that you have to do nowadays. Anyway, I'll press Y and then enter. Let's get these installed. And there you go. I have successfully installed Alacrity and ULauncher. But you know what? Let's just make sure that these packages were in fact installed. So again, I'm just going to go to Activities. I'll go down here to Show Applications and check it out. We have Alacrity right here, which doesn't really look like much yet. This is one of those things that you'll need to configure to make it look good, but it's installed at least. That's pretty cool. Back at Applications, let's look for ULauncher. So we actually have more than one page now, so here it is. So we have both of those installed. I also have a video on ULauncher as well if you want to check that out. It's a very convenient way to launch applications, and I think you'll like it. Anyway, we've seen several examples of installing a package, but what about removing a package? Well, let's go ahead and see an example of that right now. So again, we'll type sudo dnf, and instead of the keyword install, what we want to do is remove. So I'll type remove, and then the name of the package that I want to remove, which I'll just use htop as an example, I guess. That was the first one that we've installed, so I'll just use that one. And I'll press enter. And it's telling me right here that this is going to result in the removal of htop, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So I'll type Y and then enter. and that's going to remove htop from the system. So now, as you can see, I'm not able to run htop. It's no longer installed, so that makes sense. Now let's see another example of removing something, but specifically I'll remove Alacrity as well as ULauncher. And this will show you guys that you can actually list multiple packages to remove in one command, similar to how you can install several things with one command. So I'll press enter. And as you can see here, it's going to remove Alacrity and ULauncher, and it's also going to remove these dependencies as well, because those dependencies were installed to support these packages, but now that I'm removing them, we don't need those anymore. And this is going to result in the removal of 10 different packages. So I'll type Y and then I'll press enter. And it's already done. It's erased all of those packages, as you can see. So if I go to activities and then I check out the application list, well, Alacrity is missing. I don't have the 2 pages. ULauncher is clearly gone. So it looks like the command was indeed successful. But how do you handle a situation where you have a package on the system and a new version of that package has come out? Now, on my end, I actually have a pretty decent example here because Firefox has been recently updated. So what I could do is run sudo dnf and then upgrade. And then after that, I type the name of the package that I want to upgrade. In my case, that's going to be Firefox. And this is going to update just that package. Now, if there's also updated dependencies as well, then this command is going to result in the installation of those in addition. But this is not going to be a system-wide upgrade though. It's just going to upgrade Firefox and the things that it requires. So as you can see right here, this is going to upgrade 6 different packages. So I'll type Y and then enter, and we'll get the latest Firefox package installed right here on this particular installation. And it's hard to believe that we're all the way up to Firefox version 100. Yes, 100. That's not a typo in the name of the package. Firefox is actually at version 100. Where is the time gone? Anyway, you just saw an example when it comes to upgrading a specific package, and in this case, like you've just seen, I was able to upgrade Firefox to the latest version. But what if I want to do a complete distribution upgrade, meaning I want to update everything? And this is a very, 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 very important thing to get in the habit of, because on a Linux system, or any operating system for that matter, it's really important that you have the latest packages, because those packages will often include security enhancements as well. And if you don't do a good job when it comes to installing the updates for your system, you're actually increasing the overall risk. So I recommend that you run this every now and then, sudo dnf upgrade, and since I didn't give it a specific package name, I'm basically telling it to upgrade everything. So I'll press enter. And there's quite a few updates here, 676 packages to be exact. In fact, this is a test installation that I've never upgraded, ever. So it makes sense why there's so many packages to be updated. On your end, if it gets to this point, then that must mean that you haven't upgraded in a very long time. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Again, you definitely want to stay on top of updates. But what I'll do is type Y and then enter. All right, so actually the process is complete. All of the packages have been updated on this system. And what's actually interesting is that it appears that the wallpaper has changed as well. And that's actually a really cool wallpaper. I'm actually using a development version of Fedora right now because I'm checking out a new Fedora release. So it makes sense that the wallpaper has changed, because while a distribution is in development, then anything could change. But anyway, you just saw an example of where I went and updated everything on the system with dnf upgrade, which is exactly how you do that. Now, I mentioned that updates are very important, and that you should make sure that your Linux installations are kept up to date. But I understand that life can get in the way and you might not remember to update. Now, I could tell you to set a timer or maybe an alarm or some sort of like calendar alert or something like that, but I generally find that that's not really all that effective. Thankfully, with DNF, you can actually install the automatic package, the DNF automatic package, and what that does is it helps you automate the process of keeping your installation up to date. So let's go ahead and see an example of that right now. What I'm going to do is run sudo dnf, and then what I want to do is install. And what I want to install is dnf-automatic, just like that. And this is one step in a two-step process. We first need to get the package installed, and then we can configure the package. So I'll press enter. We'll go ahead and confirm that we do indeed want to get this installed. So I typed Y and then I pressed enter, and it's already done. So what we could do right now is edit a configuration file, which is actually something that sometimes comes along for the ride when we install a new package on any distribution. Configuration files are very common because it tells the system how to, well, configure the package. In our case, we'll need to use sudo, and that's because we're going to be making a system-wide configuration change. And I'm going to use nano, a command line text editor, to edit the configuration file for DNF Automatic. I have an entire video that goes over nano if you want to check that out. But for our purposes, we just need a text editor. It really doesn't matter which one we use. I just went along with nano because it's easier to explain in a video. But anyway, the file that we want to edit is going to be /etc dnf/automatic.conf. So I'll press enter. And now we have the default config file for the DNF Automatic package. And what we could do is go through this configuration file and make some changes if we need to as far as the individual details about how things are updated. For example, we have upgrade type, which is set to default. And as we can see right here, the default option is going to give us all available upgrades. Now, an alternative is the security option, which is listed right here in this comment. So we could actually change this to upgrade type equals security. And if you're maintaining a server, then this is probably the best setting for this right here, because default, like it says, will update everything, which means if the update includes a feature update, but nothing that benefits security, then it's still going to update it. But if you set it to security specifically, then the only packages that will be upgraded are the ones that offer security updates, which might be better when it comes to company workstations and servers, where change isn't always a great idea all the time, but you definitely want to stay on top of the security updates. And these options are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll leave it up to you to go through this file and make some changes if you'd like to do so. But what I'm going to do is save the changes right now, which in the case of nano is Control-O, and then Enter, and then Control-X to exit out. And now we're back to the command line. Now before I close out the video, there's a few more examples that I'd like to show you. And for the first example, what I'm going to do is actually install htop again, because I'm going to use it for the example that I'm going to show you. So just like before, I'll run sudo dnf install and then htop. Let's get that back on the system. And that was pretty quick. So for this example, let's assume that you're having a very strange problem with a package that you've installed. Maybe it's just acting erratic, or I don't know, you're getting errors or something like that. Something you might want to consider doing is reinstalling the package. Now, to be fair, that's kind of what I've just done. We installed htop earlier in the video, I removed it, and now I'm installing it again. So you could argue that I've already reinstalled it. Well, I have. But you don't have to do it that way. Yes, that does work, but there's actually a reinstall command with DNF that'll take care of that for you. So if you run sudo dnf, and then you run reinstall, and then you give it the name of the package, that'll actually take you through that entire process. So I'll press enter. I'll answer Y. And it reinstalled the package for us. It literally says reinstalled right there. So if you ever run into a very strange problem and you want to try to reinstall a package, that's actually a valid troubleshooting tactic. Now you know that you could do that with DNF. Now earlier in the video, when I showed you the process of removing a package, DNF also removed the dependencies as well. But in case you have any dependencies that are hanging around that weren't removed, there's a special command to take care of those as well. So we can run sudo dnf, and then auto remove just like that. And what this should do is look for any packages that were installed as a dependency of another package that's no longer present. But in a situation where the dependencies themselves have not been removed, then this should go through the system, find some dependencies that it can remove, safely remove, and take care of that for us. So I'll press enter. And check this out. We actually have a few dependencies right here that were installed as a dependency of something else that's no longer present. And that's good. So you get to see an example of that. So I'll answer Y. So DNF auto remove is something that you might want to consider running every now and then to help clean your system. And with that, that's all the examples. Of course, there's other things that you could do with DNF. Those aren't the only options that exist, but those are the basics, which is the whole point of this series. I've taught you the basics of DNF, and with what I've shown you in this video, you should have everything you need to make full use of the DNF command. So there you go. In today's video, we checked out the DNF command. And like I mentioned during the intro, it's used by quite a few distributions out there. So by mastering the concepts that I've gone over in this video, you should be good to go with all of the basics that you need to use DNF on a daily basis. Now, if you found this video helpful, then please click that like button to let YouTube know that you found value in this content. And that also helps YouTube understand that you guys want to see more Linux on YouTube, and I do too, so I definitely hope you like this video. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon.